Today's short is being brought to you by Goya Foods. If it's Goya, it has to be good.
Your daily game plan for success. It's Sachs in the Morning. Steve Sachs.
Hi, Steve Sachs here with Sachs in the Morning. And today is Tuesday, and we're in the middle of some great talking about being from good to great. We talked about that yesterday. I talked about and gave my 7 tips about what I felt was important going from just good to great. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more from the book of Lewis Howes, and somebody I'm going to have on my podcast if I have to strangle him to get him over here. But we're going to get Lewis Howes on the podcast. I really hope we do anyway, because I really admire this guy. He's a former athlete, he's an author, and he kicks a lot of behind. So I want to have him on the podcast. But in Jim Collins' book about companies taking the leap from good to great, he opens with good is the enemy of great. Think about that for a minute. Good is the enemy of great. What comes to mind when you apply that to your personal situation? Compromise or mediocrity or just settling? How many times have you heard somebody say, it's good enough? Really? I remember if I was on the baseball field, if I looked over to the pitcher, I said, hey, a nice pitch. It was good enough. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Well, you got to be kidding me. Who wants to be known as the person who was just good enough? Don't we strive to be great at what we do or how we live or what we'll be remembered by? Walter Payton, loved Walter Payton. He had a quote that went like this: when you're good at something, you tell everyone. But when you're great at something, everyone tells you. I can see now on the headstone, here lies Jim Smith. Great guy. Everything he did was just good enough. Nope. We all want to be great at something. We want to be that great person that people talk about and refer to. The point here isn't about the why or what. It's about the how. Nobody starts anything thinking that it's only going to be good enough. All right, some people do some things that are just good enough and they're not perceived as things of value. Or, okay, well, some people do some things that are just good enough, but they're not perceived as things of value or quality or integrity. Remember, Gallup recently did a poll that said that 70% of the American workforce is not emotionally engaged at work. In other words, they're working just hard enough not to get fired. How'd you like to be in that group? There's often a good version of something great if you think about it, but we don't want to be just good. We don't want our companies or products or families to be just good, do we? I mean, do you want your kid to just be average? No, you expect a lot out of your kids because you love them and you want them to be great. We want our home to be great, and of course our family and our car to be great, even our jobs to be great. Of course, that's human nature. It's actually harder to be just good rather than striving to be great. You have to make a conscious effort not to be better. That's kind of weird when you think about it, but come on, do you really want to do that? Great takes courage. So let me give you 8 steps you can take on your way to greatness. Actually, I'll tell you what, let's do this. I love these steps, but I don't want to take the time to go over all of them with you. So now let me just whet your appetite with them, okay? I'll start with 2 today and give you the remaining 6 tomorrow. Is that fair enough? Okay. Now, these are coming from Lewis Howes' book, The School of Greatness. And here we go. So the first one is creating a vision. And it's like that old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right? Or if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, right? Those type of things. So you have to have a crystal clear vision of what you're going to accomplish. And you can't be fraying at the edges here. It's got to be definite. It's got to be defined. And, there's things like putting a time frame on it. Like today, when I went to the gym, because I have an extremely strenuous 3 weeks coming up or a month coming up, I say that for the next month, because of the travel and dedication I have to do to my speaking and things I'm doing out there, I can only work out, including drive time, 1 hour a day. That's it. I can't be lollygagging around and go getting a Jamba Juice after and doing all this. I got 1 hour to drive over there and work out, and that's it. Because I have to segment all of my days into blocks of time where I have to work. And that's it. That's what you call creating a vision. And that's what I've done. Now, turn adversity into advantage, or a slip becomes a pirouette. I think this is a great thing. You got to learn how to turn these things. You got to learn not to sweat under pressure. They say that a great singer, even the greatest singers in the world, mess up on average 2 times in a song. I've asked professional singers before, hey, do you ever say the wrong word in the song? All the time. That's the answer. I do it all the time. So you never know it, though, do you? Because they're able to turn adversity into an advantage. What's the advantage? It sounded great. It sounded beautiful. but they made mistakes. And that's the thing you got to do. Move on. Don't let it bog you down, and go out and accomplish the goal that's set out in number one, where you had a clear vision of where you were going. So turn that adversity into advantage. So, okay, that should get you started and anxious to hear about tomorrow's conclusion with the remaining 6 steps. But I can't wait to share them with you. It's going to be, well, it's going to be great. And that's my short for today. If you like what you heard, give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. Also, remember that the Sax in the Morning swag is now available on my Instagram site. Go to saxinthemorning_podcast. You'll see it right there on the Instagram, and just hit the link. Everything's there. Mugs, hats, tumblers, you name it. Take advantage of it. And thanks to Al Hendrickson Toyota for their support of this podcast. And be sure to visit alhendricksontoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.